Welcome to day 8 of our 12 Makes of Christmas series from Quilt Addicts Anonymous. I'm Stephanie Soebbing. Today we're going to be playing a replay from last year's 12 Makes of Christmas. This is a Snowflake mug rug. Full confession, I totally meant to call it a snowball mug rug because it looks a little bit like the snowball block, but my brain wasn't thinking about that when I was filming it, and it was too late because it was on camera. But it is a really fast and simple way that you can make some mug rugs. They're super cute, they're adorable, they are seasonally appropriate, and they go really fast. And so they make great gifts. You can have them out with their little cookies for Santa and just really have some fun with it and decorate your home with them. And we still do have some charm packs of holiday that you can check out, or you can do them with anything really, but you can have some fun with that. All right, let's get on with the tutorial. So I'm going to take a couple of these that I like and that I think will look good together, and I'm gonna get them paired up right sides together. So fabric lines are often split up into colorways. So what I did was I took the one that's kind of green sagey, and I have pulled one print from each of the different varieties that are in here in this colorway. All right, so I'm just flipping these right sides together, and I'm gonna sew up and down both sides using a 1/4 inch seam. I'm going to repeat that with the other pairs that I have pulled out. And you can chain piece these to make it go faster. So now I've got seams going down both sides of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut up the center, and that will start to create a 4 patch. So I'm measuring, well, first make sure that you do have, in fact, 5 inches here. I've got a little bit more than that here, so we'll make it work. So what I'm going to do is I am measuring 2.5 inches from the side, so I can cut straight down the center of that 5-inch square. And now we're going to have 2 pieces that we can press and mix up with the other ones. So first I'm going to finish cutting the others, and then we're going to press them all at once. I'm going to set that seam and press this to one side. Doesn't really matter what side. This is going to be a totally random assortment. So now this part is fun, and this is where it's going to be super fast. So I'm going to take this one here, and I'm going to lay it right sides together, and I'm going to match my seams. They should nest real nicely with each other. So that way we've got one seam going one direction, one seam going the other. And then I'm going to put a little pin in on the right side of that seam allowance. I'm going to do that on both sides. This time I'm going to match it with a different one so that it can appear scrappier when it's all put together. So now I'm going to do the same thing. We're going to sew a 1/4 inch seam on both sides of my piece. Just going to match up those corners. When I get to that seam, I stop with my needle down. That kind of acts as a pin until I can sew further, making sure my joints are nice. And I'm just going to chain piece all of these and run them all through on one side, and then do the same thing on the other. All right, time to flip it around and sew the other side. All right, we're gonna do the same thing we did last time, where we're gonna line up the 2.5 inch mark with the edge. And then I'm also making sure that I've got an inch line nice and even with that seam. So that way I'm gonna have a nice good join when we go to put these together. And now we have nice scrappy 4 patches, but it was super fast because of the way we put them together. I'm gonna finish cutting up the centers of the other, and then we'll put these together into a mug rug. Now I'm gonna press these. I'm gonna first set that seam and just press it. Again, it doesn't really matter what side we're going to, as long as it gets pressed. And sometimes not all charm packs are cut to exactly 5 inches. So if you have one where it ends up being a little bit bigger, like on these, I've got ones that are a tad bit bigger, you can either square them up, or you can just kind of ease that in as you are piecing it together to make it super fast, because it's just a little mug rug. It, you know, it's totally fine if you fudge it a little bit when you sew it together, because your charms pack wasn't the exact right size it should have been. All right, so now we've got the fun part of laying these out. I want to have 16 patches in each one of these, and I want to make sure that my seams are going to butt up nicely. So I'm going to put these on first because the bears are really the only directional bit that I need to worry about for this. Oh, I suppose the mountains are going to be upside down now, but that's okay. So I have 2 things I could do now. Is I could press this going the other way so that my mountains are going straight, which I think I might do. Yeah, I'm going to do that. So I'm going to repress these so that the mountains are going straight, but otherwise I really like the way this looks. It looks super scrappy. I just need to repress this because these seams are going down and I want my mountains to also be facing up, so I need these seams to be pressed under the top bit. So I'm going to do that real quick, then we'll come back and sew this together. Now I am first going to sew this in the horizontal rows and then join my rows to get them together. If you wanted, you could skip the pinning and just get your seams nested, but I'm going to show you how to pin just for the video's sake. So what I'm doing here is I am lining it up. You can see here that since my squares weren't exactly 5 inches, that this one's hanging off a little bit to the left. So I'm going to line it up with the one that's below it, because that one is probably the one that is exactly the right size it should be. So I'm just going to ignore the bit that's hanging out and line it up with the one that is the correct size. Pin this one too. I've got those seams nested. All right, now we're going to put these through the sewing machine. All right, so for this part, I am going to make sure that I am pressing it in opposite directions from the start. So we're going to press this one off to the right. Then decide where I want this one to be in the end. I think I originally had this one down here. So I'm going to press this one now to the left. So now I'm going to join these, and depending on which way you press these, some of your seams may be going in the same direction. It's not a big deal. Again, it's a mug rug. Just kind of let it be, and it's fine. Just line them up as best you can. All right, so I've got my block together, but now we need to add some corners to make it a snowball. So for that, I need my white fabric, and I'm going to cut that down into 4 2.5 inch squares. So I'm going to take these and I'm going to draw a line from point to point. If you were doing something that like was a white on white, you would want to do it on the wrong side. This one is just a plain solid, so there is no right or wrong side. So doesn't matter what side I choose. Now, if you want to, you can pin this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to line these up with the corners. And I'm just going to sew right along that line on all the corners to give this a little snowball peak. Now I'm going to sew just to the right side of the line that I drew. Just one needle width on the corner side of that is perfect. And I'm going to do that all the way around my block. Now we've got to slice off our corners, so I'm going to take my ruler and my rotary cutter, and lining the 1/4 inch mark along the line that we drew and sewed on, I'm going to slice it off to create my 1/4 inch seam allowance. And then repeat that for all 4 corners. You can save these for another project or toss them. Whatever you want to do is totally fine. All right, so now I'm going to press the corners going out to the sides, and then we're ready to quilt. Since the pieces are so small, I'm going to use some flatter, and I'm going to just spritz that all over the block. And then I'm going to hit it with the iron one more time just to get it super, super flat before I quilt this. That looks so much nicer. I'm really excited. I'm about ready to quilt this and have some fun with it. Now for the quilting, I'm just going to quilt in diagonal lines across it and going both ways. And I'm going to use my walking foot for that. That way it's just nice, easy, and simple. But the first thing I want to do is make my quilt sandwich. So to do that, I've cut an extra piece of white fabric to 9 inches and batting to the same side. And batting has a right and a wrong side if you didn't know that. You want the bumpy side to be up and the smooth side to be against your backing fabric. And then I'm going to just center this. And I'm not going to pin or base this at all, because I'm using cotton batting, and cotton batting will stick to cotton fabric. And since the piece is so stinking little, I'm going to be just fine without messing with that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and stitch all the way down and then secure my stitches. And then I'm going to turn it and go the other direction. If you feel more comfortable though, feel free to pin base this. I'm going to lengthen my stitch length up to about 3.5 so it goes a little quicker. So I could mark all this if I wanted to, but I'm going to skip that because it's so small that I can just see where this next corner is and aim for that. All right, so I've now sewn down both corners, so now I can just stitch and do my angles and get that cross hatched real easily and quickly. I'm just stitching in the ditch when I get to these corners. So now we're going to take an entire strip of 2.5 inch by width of fabric to bind each one of these. And I'm do it just the normal way I bind everything, using continuous binding. The one difference is I'm going to stitch it down to the back by machine because it's just a little mug rug, so I'm not going to fuss with doing it by hand. But I'm really loving how these turned out. 8 charm squares will give you a pair of these. So it's really cute. You can use them as a mug rug with your favorite drink or as a hot plate on your dining room table for your holiday dinners. And they're just adorable. They make fun gifts and they're super cute. So if you've enjoyed this, we have all the supplies you need to make it over at shop.quiltaddictsanonymous.com. We're bringing you these patterns and tutorials for free. So if you want to support us and say thanks, then shop with us to get your goodies. We have this exact charm pack while supplies last, but we have other Christmas ones as well if that's something you're looking for. Make sure you are subscribed to our channel and click the bell notification so you get all of the 12 Makes of Christmas videos. And make sure you're also subscribed to our email over at shop.quiltaddictsanonymous.com. We give you a 10% off coupon code that you can use on your first purchase. And then you'll know when we have all of our new videos coming out, because YouTube doesn't always tell you right when they come out. Thanks for following along. Until next time, happy quilting.